Hello and welcome to She TV, which is the place women come to become powerfully feminine from the inside out. And I am here today with my dear friend and colleague, Dr. Gary Salyer, and our conversation with Candice, the conversation with Candice here today, is on this topic that so many women ask me about, which is, Candice, is it really safe to love again? As it happens, this is the very title of Gary's new book, Safe to Love Again, How to Release the Pain of Past Relationships and Create the Love You Deserve. Wow.
Wow.
Wow. So welcome.
Thank you for having me. I feel very welcomed.
Yeah, of course.
Yes.
So this has just been released, and it really is a groundbreaking knowledge. I've mentioned a few times on the channel this concept around attachment theory, and Gary, you've really taken attachment theory to another level. Do you want to just start talking a bit about maybe just some basics around attachment, and then where you've taken it?
Okay. Well, attachment theory is just, the way your brain was wired to love and be loved, so to speak, from the time you're just a little child. I mean, attachment theory knows that these things they call attachment styles, I call them love styles.
Okay.
They're up and running by the time you're a year and a half old, and they will track, the way you love, the way you relate to people, that core way of feeling yourself in a relationship and how you feel about being in a relationship.
Right.
And what the attachment theory came up with, there were three different basic brands.
Brands of attachment.
Brands of attachment. So there's the secure, that are really comfortable being in a relationship. They're good being loved, being depended on, and they're good depending on somebody. Then there's the other 50% of the population that's anxious or avoidant. Mm-hmm. And the avoidants they're always doing that flight response. Mm. They're afraid of being depended on or depending on somebody. And then the anxious are having a fight response. They're thinking, remember the last time love went away on me? I'm going to lock it down this time. I'm going to find out, and I'm going to nail this thing down. And so they get into a lot of drama.
Or they're always waiting for the relationship to end or something. Yes. That's the expectation that's creating the anxiety, right? When
does love go away? Right. Now, the way traditional attachment theory works is it gives you a label, and so you find out if you're secure, anxious, or avoidant. Great. That and $5 might get you a latte at Starbucks.
It's not bad, though. I mean, in the sense that one of the reasons why I love your work is I do love models, okay?
Yeah.
Models help people to understand something that at the moment starts nebulous. So we've got if you're out there and you're wondering whether it's safe to love again, right? Mm-hmm. You don't understand what's going on. You don't know why you're not attracting the right person. You don't understand why you're either having this fight or flight response. And so for me, when I first read Attached, I can't remember the author of the first book, Attached.
Yeah, Amir Levine.
That's right, Amir Levine, exactly. I had light bulbs going off, and it was like, oh, wow, I've attracted avoidance all my life. Mm-hmm. It totally explained to me why things weren't working. So you've got these other models that we're going to talk about here today, but just super briefly, the concept of attachment theory starts in childhood basically because of how we attach to the parents, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So, and all that's good, but what attachment theory hasn't said to date is, how do you restore yourself if you're anxious or avoidant to being a secure lifestyle?
Right. So this is where we're starting our conversation today. Yes. So we've just done in 3 minutes a brief précis of attachment theory, and you do go into that here in the book, and so to understand, we're kind of starting where you might identify what your attachment style is, and the answer, your query really was when writing the book was, well, now what?
Exactly.
Right.
Well.
Now what?
Well, most people say, when people have read the book,
if you're not secure, that is.
That's right. They say, well, now I feel hopeless and screwed. It's like I got this.
Right.
And What's the road back?
And by the way, use examples of some of your clients. You've got amazing client testimonials all throughout the book that are amazing.
Yeah,
bring any of them in.
I've had the most wonderful souls they showed up to show me what I needed to show the world, basically.
Yeah.
You know, so my question was always, because it's part of my journey too, is how do I reclaim my natural birthright to a secure, loving relationship? Well, if you don't know what goes into a secure, loving relationship, I mean, if I were to say, I want you to, make some beef bourguignon, but I didn't tell you how to cook it or what was in it, you would say, well, what goes in it?
What's the recipe?
What's the recipe?
What's the recipe? Give me a recipe and I'll make it for you.
Exactly. This is the recipe.
Oh.
This is the recipe.
And that's why this is groundbreaking. It's really exciting because there are so many books put out there, and even Stan Tatkin's work, which I do love, Wired for Love. It didn't give you the recipe. We need the recipe, right?
We need the recipe. Exactly.
So, and we need the recipe to become secure. So basically, in attachment theory, 50% of the population is secure. The other 50% are anxious or anxious or avoidant, or a very small population or a mixture of those.
Yeah.
And then, and I had this question, firstly, when I studied attachment theory was, okay, well, I'm looking for a securely attached man. Mm-hmm. And then all I read from there was, well, you don't see them.
Yeah.
You go dating and you don't see secure men. And I went, you're right.
Yes.
Now what? But I knew inside that I wanted that. When the secure man was described to me, it's like, oh, I could feel my nervous system coming down. I could feel something different in how I felt in myself, how I felt with the man. Because I'd been always attracting avoidance, there was always this anxiety.
Yes.
That was perpetuated by the dynamic. So I knew I wanted a secure man, but nobody until now had answered, well, how do you become secure, and how do you create this secure environment for yourself and for the relationship moving forward?
Exactly. I mean, that's what they said. They just said, if you're anxious, don't date the avoidance.
Exactly.
Try to date a secure. That's not the same as how do I become secure so I don't even attract that or want that in the first place. Because the secure wouldn't have gone for that in the first place.
And by the way, I love that because my whole work is...
Yeah.
My women hear about becoming powerfully feminine from the inside out.
Exactly.
And so even though if my model's about the true and false feminine, I'm saying you need to become the true feminine first before you're going to attract the true masculine.
Exactly.
And so you're saying, I'm going to show you how to become secure, and then that's going to change your inner environment, and then that then changes what gets attracted to you in your life. Imagine
if you could be true masculine, true feminine, and true secure all at the same time. So if you add those two together, that's where lasting comes.
Oh man, I'm getting chills at that one.
Yes, because the lasting comes from this, and the recipe is more simple than I ever imagined. I had a client that literally asked me after a weekend workshop, can you do another workshop that would program my brain to be secure in a weekend? Well, that's a kind of a tall order.
Yeah.
You know. But I began to ask myself the question, what would you do? How would you do that? And the question then became in my mind, in attachment theory, there's something called the strange situation. Classic example of an experiment where they took little 1.5-year-old babies separated from the mother, and based on how they returned to the mom at the reunion, they could tell whether they were secure, anxious, or avoidant, and that would track for the next 20
So that was called the secure, but it was basically the strange situation was an experiment that psychologists did, and it's become the basis of attachment theory.
Yeah. It's like splitting the atom was for, physics. It's the basic thing. So I began to realize, you hear people saying limiting beliefs, or the story we tell about ourselves, or all that. But none of that can possibly be running in a 1 to 1.5-year-old brain. A child, the prefrontal cortex isn't even online. Mm-hmm. There's no belief.
It's all feeling based. They're just
feelings.
They're little feelingful little beings, and so they're responding to the feelingness in the environment.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that's how you basically came up with the first part of your model, right?
Exactly. and when I had become familiar with something called Neo-Reichian developmental psychology, which is kind of a little different than the normal stuff. And they talk about rights being put in. And I began to think that's useful. Now, I went beyond what they said, but then I began to say, what creates these rights?
So you actually worked backwards from the 6 rights and discovered the 4 feelings.
Yes.
And then you realized the exchange between them.
Well, when I'm dealing one-on-one with clients, and so there was years and years of dealing with clients, and I began to notice that the missing feeling for those with a missing right to exist was welcome. The resource they were always looking for was welcome.
They want to feel welcome.
Then I realized that's the key. That's the key. Welcome with joy is the feeling that gave them the missing.
So welcomed with joy is the first feeling.
First 2 months.
First feeling. Welcomed with joy.
And that's when the mom goes, oh, little Candice, so cute. That's welcome with joy.
Yeah.
You know? And then later on, when you wake up in the morning, it's good morning, gorgeous.
Yep. Or you come home from work, honey, hello, baby.
Exactly.
So happy to see you.
Same thing. And we all, I mean, how many of us want to be rejected? We don't. We want to be welcomed with joy. So and when you think about dates, what is it? We introduce ourselves to each other with fun and welcoming.
Right.
So that's the gateway for love. That's the first one. That's your North Star.
Okay, North Star is welcomed with joy. What's the second feeling?
Then the second one is, as there's all these really good things that happen to the baby, especially breastfeeding and being attentively cared for. When the baby cries, the mom responds in an attuned way.
Right. Caring,
attuned, right? And if they get it wrong, moms are really great at making sure they get it right.
Right.
That gives the feeling of worthy and nourished. And when you're worthy and nourished,
second feeling.
Then you can reach out for your needs. And it's okay to reach out and to take. Instead of have to give. When it's missing, it's give. I'm not deserving, I'm not enough.
Right.
But so that's the second feeling that comes in from like month 2 to 6.
Okay. Yeah.
Then when the baby gets and they're separating and they begin to realize, hey, wait a minute, that's mom over there and I'm over here. Oh my God, I'm a me. But they know they're not so safe and they're thinking, but I need to be watched. I need to be seen. I need to make sure that I'm protected. So when they do that, and when the mom is looking over them, they can be a me, but they're enveloped in the protective, empowering feeling of being a we as well. Okay. Mom's got my back. Dad's got my back. And they're there for me. That becomes cherished and protected.
So the third feeling is feeling cherished and protected.
And this is the key one for couples. If this one gets messed with, when this one gets messed in, there's trouble in paradise.
Yeah.
With more couples, I am going back and repairing this because it's a Goldilocks zone. I get to be me. It's not like, intrusiveness. It's not that, and it's not, oh, go away, just go away and play by yourself. It's not distance. There's a Goldilocks zone here.
And just what does that mean? What's the Goldilocks zone mean?
I get to be me.
Yep.
And I get to be a we.
Okay.
And the way that works out is you get to go out and in a relationship, you get to explore. You get to go out and live your life and to become your fullest self.
And your own values.
Yes.
Yeah.
And somebody says, hey, I'm going to support your dreams. I'm going to be the safety net under the high wire act of your life.
Yeah.
So you come home to the safe port of loving arms. You can replenish. You can be refurbished. You can be supported. So it's a right to be supported too. And to be seen and protected. And it's cherished is what it is.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
That I just began to notice when people had that missing right.
Yeah.
This was the feeling they were craving. This was the feeling that healed them.
Yeah.
So the feelings came to me like just noticing what the normal feelings. Worthy was the one that people were craving.
Hang on, what was the fourth? So what's the fourth feeling?
It's empowered with choice.
So you're empowered with choice. And that means, so we've got, you're empowered to, is the third one the me? Well, and then the empowered with choice is I can choose to be doing my stuff and my values, and I choose to be with the we. So
Yes.
that's choosing the me and choosing the we.
Yeah, in fact, yes.
When you want to.
Exactly. There's two elements of it. There's a right to create my own experience.
Yes.
I get to create my own interior experience, and that is I'm okay being good and bad. I can be kind and mean. I can be fully human. I can be loving and unloving sometimes. We all are.
Yeah.
You know, I can be strong and I can be weak. It gives us the ability to be vulnerable and intimate.
And sort of real and human and fallible.
Exactly. Integrity is another
Right.
one too. Yeah.
Yep.
But I can create my own interior experience. I don't have to let somebody else be the standard of my experience of who I am.
Right. Back to the inner.
They don't get to define me, but I get to be in a relationship with them.
Yes.
And then there's a right to create, and then there's a right to assert, which means to speak up your voice, but also to have your victories, what you really want instead of what you don't want. When this right gets hurt, people get into the habit, if I can't have what I want, then I will choose what I don't want.
Yes.
These are the classic saboteurs who, you know, they're the killjoys of a relationship because they can't have love or whatever.
So this is what I call, and you will have heard this many times, so what Gary's talking about is what I call negative desire versus positive desire. And it is the false feminine who's in negative desire all the time.
Yes.
Drama, screaming for the needs to be met, everything has to be a drama, but doesn't actually know how to receive because they don't really know what their positive desires are.
Yes.
So the queen and the king are very clear on what they want, and they're totally cool and fluid about asking for it because they have the right to receive it. They have the right to have that.
Yes, and the right to assert though has to be done in a secure way. The key, when I'm working with couples especially, it's how can I make a request or say my truth in a way that empowers them to give me what I want.
Exactly, yeah.
And a lot
no
of times,
threats, no drama, no
Exactly.
ultimatums, no I'll leave you if, right, which is avoidant behaviour.
Yes.
But there's no need to.
No.
I think what you're saying is there really is no need to. You can actually identify your needs in an empowered way, ask for it in an empowered way that's fantastic, a win-win. Like there's literally
Exactly.
not just the possibility, it's just to communicate, there's learning the communication after you've learned the rights, right? So
Exactly.
once you know how to communicate cleanly, especially, you know, in my world, you know, the masculine will bend over sideways to provide the feminine her needs. As long as she doesn't attack him and demand and create drama, because
Exactly.
it's just not necessary.
Exactly. You know, and when we get into harsh startups and we get into these little head games of getting revenge because I didn't get my needs, this is not
It's a
secure
world of
system.
misery. Yeah.
No, it's just a world of misery. And
Vicious circle, right?
A
It
vicious
goes
circle.
nowhere. It's nobody's needs get met. Everybody's getting hurt. Things are getting worse, and it just really doesn't have to be like that.
no, and it erodes trust.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because trust, you know what
The couple bubble
Yeah.
piece. Right?
exactly.
Yeah.
They've done studies, the Gottmans have done studies. They did a long study on what creates trust. And the metric for trust is, the opposite of trust is betrayal.
Yes.
Not just sexual, but it's, will that person leverage their interest at the expense of mine?
Expense of mine. Exactly. Yeah.
And this happens, and when couples get into this type of assertion and power games and power trips, you know, this is about secure empowerment, not just grabbing for power because I don't want to be the beta in this relationship.
Yeah.
A lot of couples are too alphas, scared rotten that one of them is going to be put into beta status,
Yes. Yeah.
you know,
Yes.
and that's not secure love. That's not lasting.
And again, it's not necessary.
Absolutely.
You can both be strong people. Yeah, I mean, I literally, my work is about becoming powerfully feminine. I use
Yes.
the word deliberately because it's like it sounds oxymoronic to women. Power and feminine isn't power masculine, or unconsciously isn't power masculine thing. It's like, no, the king and the queen are in their masculine power. The king's in his masculine power and the queen is in her feminine power.
Yeah.
Power, you want, if you're a powerful woman, which are most of the women that follow me or love what I do, are smart, savvy, successful, powerful individuals.
Exactly.
Guess what they want? They want a smart, savvy, successful, powerful man. And if they turn up believing that there has to be some combative fighting dynamic in order to get their needs or to keep one-upping the other person, then it's a world of misery too.
Yeah.
Like, who's going to benefit from that? How are your needs actually going to get met by one-upping or trying to we have the concept in the Powerfully film called man mode. If you go man mode with your man, what happens, Gary?
He thinks he's in a contest of wills.
And he's good at that.
Yes, he's good at that. He was born to win that fight.
Yeah, and that's kind of horrible.
Yes.
So what a woman tends to do is she'll try to man up even more, and she's actually very good at that too.
Yes.
And nobody's needs are getting met. No. We just said the 4 feelings. Do you want to say them again?
The 4 feelings are welcome with joy.
Welcome with joy.
Worthy and nourished.
Worthy and nourished.
Cherished and protected.
Cherished and protected.
And empowered with choice.
Empowered with choice.
And you can do a quick check-in. Just ask yourself, scale of 1 to 10 in the relationship you're in, how am I feeling with welcomed? How am I feeling? And if one of them is missing, you got a few things to work on.
Right.
2 of them are missing, you're probably thinking, what's my best friend's therapist number? And if 3 or 4 are missing, you're in a toxic relationship.
Yeah.
And now you know what you need to work on. You know, now in the book I give skill sets.
Yeah.
So, that create these for couples.
Yeah.
But this is what's going on. And when you really stop to think of it, I'll bet you'll think, yes, that's what I miss. That feeling.
It's so interesting, because I know that you're talking more about as you move into a relationship, and yet, we have this concept when you're dating of red flags, right? And what often happens with women is we argue away in our head the red flags when we start dating somebody.
Yes.
We go, oh, look, I understand why he's been late 15 times in a row. There was bad traffic or whatever. Or I understand why he may have been a bit curt with that waiter. And yet you've got red flags going off big time inside. And so what I'm wondering is how the 4 feelings could be applied to someone, even in early dating scenarios where ostensibly we're on our best behavior.
Yes.
And yet things start to slip and slide and you start to see the person. And I always say that you really don't even start to get to know somebody before 6 to 12 months into the relationship. That's when the rubber's hitting the road. That's when you're being put into different situations with them. And you do start to see the real person start to emerge a little bit more. And I'm not talking about you're expecting anybody to be perfect. You're not perfect either. But do you think you can apply the 4 feelings when you're assessing somebody in an early relationship scenario?
Yeah, usually I think 2 to 3 months is when stuff starts usually coming out of people. Now there's another level down where you were talking about 6 to 12 months where you get to really see the big structural things.
Yes.
But by 2 or 3 months, people can't mask themselves that long.
That's true.
They just don't. So what you're really noticing when you get into that is this an appropriate life partner? We're assuming there's some chemistry. Now you're always,
right.
and you're looking for alignment during this process, but you're constantly checking in. How does this guy greet me?
Yes. Do I feel welcomed with joy?
Do I feel welcome with joy?
Am I feeling cherished by this person?
Exactly.
Am I nourished in his presence? Do I feel cherished is such a big one for women. It's really big. Yeah.
Yes, and I like to think about you're also tracking the signs of the we.
Yes,
you got to notice agree.
That you know what I call it?
What's that?
I say, is this man a highly relationshipable man?
Yes.
What you're looking for is a man who's interested in relationship and in being in relationship with you.
Exactly.
And it's not everybody is, and it's not a discredit of them. They might be more focused on their work or their kids or something else. But that's like a big background thing that I'm saying to my women is when you're turning up, is he relationshipable?
Yes.
Does he want to be in a relationship, which means a we, right?
Yes.
I want to be in a we.
And you're really, but there are some men out there that think, I want to be in a relationship. I'd like to see her every weekend and have sex with her. That's not what I'm
talking about. Yeah.
When you say, but we is where are they actively noticing, your needs, what your patterns and preferences, and to be honest with you, how you create your experience. Are you the sort of person that feels more comfortable? Hey, this is our bottom line, or are you wanting to have more options? If you feel safer with, hey, we could do 2 or 3 things. What feels best for you?
Yeah, which means he's actually concerned about what your needs are. He wants you as the woman to feel happy and to have the choices, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, and it really is, how much are you getting on his mental map? How much are you inside his head? How much is there a shared space that's a unique energy between the two of you? Yeah. Every time I work with couples, my real client is right here.
The we.
The we.
Yeah.
Because you show me a couple without a we and I'll show you a war.
So what you just said was it's either a we or it's a war.
Yes.
And one of the things I loved about Stan Tatkin's work was the concept of the couple bubble.
Yes.
Like that really spoke to me, like, oh, that's important. Like it's really, the we is not just a protector for you and your partner.
Yes.
It becomes this incredible foundation for anybody else in your life to feel secure. Your kids, your friends, everybody can come into an environment where they feel the we.
Exactly.
Even if you're not talking about it, because you are both defending and protecting the we in the dynamic, in the relationship. It's so beautiful.
I think I love Stan's work. And I think his couple bubble is pretty much, what I mean by the we.
The we, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And, like when you have two people who are very powerful, strong king and queen.
Yeah.
Okay. And if they're doing secure assertion, what's the arbiter that between these, the power? It's the we that's the supremely cherishing soul of the relationship that says, okay, how do we balance these two very strong personalities? You show me two people who are securely attached in a lasting relationship, and their we self is just as big as their I self. Mm-hmm. There has to be something I call we-dentity, and not just identity.
I love that.
So there's identity, but there has to be we-dentity. There's the idea of, hey, this is me in relationship with this very specific woman, or if a woman is this very specific man. And this is how we have created our safe home port together.
Safe home port. Now that's beautiful.
Yeah.
And I think, back to the book, The Safe to Love Again, it's both, what you're talking about here is both learning how to be secure in yourself, and you're going to have to rewind the clock a little bit to review what's happening inside you. And this is the roadmap. This is the recipe to do that.
It is.
And it's also that when you learn how to do that, then you can create this we, because if you've got two people that know how to feel secure in themselves, they create a foundation that is safety. Now, I tell you, there's one thing a woman wants, even if she doesn't admit it to herself, is she wants to feel safe.
Exactly.
It's partly because of our physical lack of strength compared to men, but it's more about our heart, actually. Yes. And so we want to feel that our heart is being protected, adored and cherished by the man.
Exactly.
And we are super clear whether that is or isn't happening.
Yes.
Right? Mm-hmm. And so if you've got a secure man and you have learned how to be secure yourself, then your heart is being protected. And then what happens with a woman when her heart feels safe and protected? She opens her body.
Yes.
She opens her sexuality. She's prepared to share that with the man. And that's when, and this is not the topic of today, but that's when sexuality becomes real.
Exactly.
That's when the feminine sexuality actually opens up, and it's a totally new world order. It's a different experience for a woman, and then subsequently for the man, because it's a total win-win. We go from vicious circles in the war to what I call virtuous circles, right?
I like that.
So virtuous circles are when everybody's needs are getting met. It's beyond win-win. It's just that as strong queens and kings, we just don't see things as competition.
Yes.
We just don't see that. We see that, everyone's needs can get met. Things get better. Things can change. And my values are important. Your values are important. And we create this beautiful environment into which other people can come.
Exactly.
And feel strong too. Like we actually show other people how to be strong there.
Exactly.
And secure. Yeah.
Now, and if you think about it, the act of making love is the ultimate physical sort of metaphor for what a we is. I mean, so if you don't have a we, it's not an accident, everything falls apart. Because nobody wants to make love to someone that doesn't really get who they are. I mean, we humans, we're different from animal bonding in one way. We have these mirror neurons where we can step inside the other person. Mm-hmm. So we not only need a a strong, lasting bond, we need intimacy. We need someone that can step inside of us. And that's for both men and women.
Yeah, we're literally naked. We're literally naked. We bare our souls and our bodies to each other, and then we get to, and then this is the perfect metaphor too. The masculine, that is the penetrator, penetrates in the feminine, and we get to receive his beautiful masculine.
Yes.
And it's such a beautiful, it's not a metaphor. I mean, that is what the masculine and feminine is.
Yes, it is.
So look, tell me, what would be the last words of wisdom? I'm highly recommend this book. It is groundbreaking material. So I'm going to put a link below here so that you can click on it and go to Amazon and grab the book. It has just been launched, which is so exciting. What would be your last words of wisdom for these smart, savvy, successful women that are watching?
You know, one of the things I learned, I had readers reading it, the chapters as I was writing.
I was one of them.
You were one of them. Is, you know, for many women, they don't feel worthy. They're so they feel so unworthy of love. They're afraid. They won't even do the work inside because I'm never enough and I never will be. Or they're so hopeless. Now, when you feel unworthy, then your brain deletes all the possibilities because it doesn't want you being rejected by them, by not being enough. So then suddenly hopelessness becomes your next of kin.
Your norm.
Yes.
Yeah, your normal.
These are related, I think, as I've seen it in my own clients. So the biggest thing is to know that you don't have to do anything. You deserve love because you were born. You were wired for love. It was your natural birthplace. And hope is just a filter. It's some way your brain is protecting you from ever being hurt again. So if you're just saying, well, that's for somebody else, that's not going to happen for me, or I don't know that I'm really enough for all this book will help you. I wrote it so everybody would walk out knowing that they are totally worthy, deep in their heart, in every cell of their body, and that hope can be real, not false hope. And I talk about some abusive hopes and false hopes, but real hope. So if it's
a birthright, you just said.
It's a birthright.
It's our birthright to be loved as human beings. It's very human what you're passing. You know, the human birthright to be loved, to give and receive love.
Exactly. So this is about anybody who wants to feel worthy and to have hope for real love and for it to last, because everybody deserves a love that lasts. And that's ultimately what these 4 feelings give you. If you can give and take only these 4 feelings in a relationship with a little alignment and chemistry, it'll last.
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Yes.
That's amazing. What wisdom. Read the book. Obviously, there's a lot of detail. There's exercises to do. This is the recipe. This is the roadmap. So I'm so excited to have been a little bit part of this and reading it along the way. And this is your baby, right?
This is it.
This is your baby, and it is wonderful, groundbreaking material. So I highly recommend it. Link below in the description box. And thank you, my dear.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming on. So we'll probably
it's
talk.
been my honor.
No, absolutely. So we'll see Gary again, I'm sure. And if you really love this, if you have any questions, I'm going to get you to pop them below in the comments too. And we'll get Gary to come on and jump in and make comments too, or responses. So
sounds good.
So remember, when you have the courage to go out there and shine, you give others permission to do the same. So let's go out there and shine this week. Bye-bye for now.